Behind the heavy, locked doors of the Sistine Chapel, time seems to stop. Cardinals from around the world sit at these long, draped tables under Michelangelo's frescoes, cut off from the rest of humanity to begin a completely silent election. The voting proceeds ballot by folded ballot. The moment a single candidate crosses the exact threshold of a 2/3 majority, the mechanical process of the conclave halts. The election is decided. The dean of the College of Cardinals walks over to the newly elected man. He leans in and asks a highly specific Latin question. Quo nomine vis vocari? By what name do you wish to be called? In the space between that question and the man's answer, an entire lifetime vanishes. A man who has lived for 70 or 80 years watches his family name, his previous legal identity, and his self is a practical requirement. The name he chooses will become the legal signature on every decree and diplomatic message issued to over 1 billion followers. For the first 5 centuries of the Church, the men chosen to lead it simply kept the names they were born with. That changed in the year 533, when a Roman priest named Mercurius won the papacy. He recognized an immediate theological problem. The supreme head of the Christian Church could not lead while carrying the name of the pagan Roman god of thieves and commerce. To resolve the conflict, Mercurius adopted the name John II. This choice established a tradition of assuming a new identity that has persisted for 1,500 years. The Church framed this practice through biblical precedent. In the Scriptures, Simon is renamed Peter, and Saul becomes Paul. In this tradition, accepting a spiritual mandate requires the surrender of the individual ego. A new mission begins with a new name. With over 266 men holding the office, there is a massive historical roster of names to draw from. Yet no man has ever dared to call himself Peter II. Taking the name of the first apostle is viewed as an act of extreme hubris. This hesitation is reinforced by an old prophecy suggesting that the final pope before the end of the world will be known as Peter the Roman. Other names are avoided due to the scandals attached to them. The name formosus has not been used since the 9th century, when that pope's body was exhumed and put on trial in the infamous cadaver synod. The remaining traditional names act as a strategic menu. By selecting from this list, a new pope can wordlessly align his reign with specific historical precedents. When Joseph Ratzinger chose Benedict, he signaled a focus on deep theological tradition and a return to the quiet, spiritual roots of the monastic orders. The selection functions as an opening signal to global observers about which past precedents the new administration intends to prioritize. In 1978, Albino Luciani broke with convention by selecting John Paul, the first double name in papal history, chosen to honor the 2 men who served before him. This move ended a millennium of solitary names, a precedent that would soon build a massive global legacy under his successor, John Paul II. In 2013, Cardinal Jorge Bergoglio went even further. He reached back across 2,000 years of history and picked a name no pope had ever used, Francis. This is Assisi, the home of the saint who famously abandoned his wealth. By taking his name, the papacy signaled a shift away from a lineage of kings and towards a focus on the humble and the poor. A departure from the traditional list of names suggests a shift in the institution's direction. It is the first indication that the incoming pope may prioritize different values than his predecessors. Inside the Sistine Chapel, the elected man finally breaks his silence. He answers the dean with accepto, I accept, and speaks his chosen name aloud for the first time. Outside, a single signal confirms the successful choice. Brilliant white smoke begins pouring from a small copper chimney on the chapel roof. In St. Peter's Square, tens of thousands wait in total suspense. They know a leader exists, but they do not yet know the identity he has assumed. The curtains on the balcony finally part. The cardinal protodeacon steps forward to announce, Habemus Papam, we have a pope. The crowd hears the man's human birth name broadcast one last time, only to be instantly replaced by the collective roar for his new papal title. The new name is immediately etched into the fisherman's ring. This engraving marks the final conversion of a private individual into the legal voice of the entire church. The person who entered the conclave no longer exists in a legal or religious sense. The name on the ring represents the transition from a private man into a continuous 2,000-year-old institution.